The diesel engines roared like angry beasts. Smoke billowed from burning tank hulls across less wheat fields of Kursk. Sergeant Mikhail Petrovich gripped his T-34's radio handset, knuckles white, sweat cutting trails through the grime on his face. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. The German attack had pierced their defensive lines faster than anyone expected. Hundreds of Panthers and Tigers were punching through Soviet positions like knife through paper. This wasn't just a battle anymore, this was slaughter. The Battle of Kursk would become the largest tank engagement in human history, a brutal collision of steel, blood, and national survival that would determine the fate of World War II's Eastern Front. But on this scorching July morning in 1943, survival was all that mattered. The Soviet Union stood at its breaking point. Nazi Germany's mechanized divisions represented the ultimate test of Soviet resilience. Here, in the rolling grasslands of central Russia, two massive armies would clash in a battle that would change everything. Act I unfolds with precision and growing tension. Soviet intelligence had known the German offensive was coming. Months of preparation, miles of defensive fortifications, thousands of anti-tank guns positioned meticulously across a 200-mile front. Yet preparation meant nothing in the face of Germany's mechanized fury. Diary fragment, Sergeant Petrovich, July 5, 1943. They told us to hold, to not retreat. But how can men hold against machines that seem possessed by demons? The German attack began with thunderous precision. At 4:30 a.m., over 3,000 tanks surged forward, supported by nearly 2,000 aircraft. The ground trembled. The sky darkened with smoke and fire. Soviet positions, carefully prepared, expertly camouflaged, vanished under an avalanche of steel and high explosives. Mikhail could hear the radio chatter. Fragmented, panicked, units reporting total destruction. Entire battalions being overrun in minutes. The carefully constructed Soviet defensive strategy was crumbling faster than anyone had predicted. The heat was suffocating. Tank interiors became ovens. Crews sweated through uniforms, their skin burning against metal hulls that reached temperatures approaching 130 degrees. Every movement was a battle against exhaustion. Every breath was a struggle. Act O reveals the brutal mathematics of mechanized warfare. For every German tank destroyed, two more seemed to appear. Soviet anti-tank guns fired continuously, their barrels glowing red-hot. Crews worked with mechanical precision, loading, aiming, firing, reload, aim, fire. But precision meant nothing against overwhelming force. The German 4th Panzer Army, led by Hermann Hoth, represented the southern strike of Operation Citadel. Their objective was simple: encircle and destroy the Soviet forces, creating a massive salient they could then crush from both sides. Mikhail's T-34 represented more than just a machine. It was hope. Soviet tank design had Ally-matched German engineering, sloped armor, powerful 76 mm guns, reliable diesel engines that wouldn't freeze in winter or catch fire like their earlier models. But reliability meant nothing if you were outnumbered and outgunned. The act of survival became a moment-by-moment calculation. Every decision could mean life or death. Turn here, engage that target, avoid that kill zone, conserve ammunition, keep the crew alive. Radio transmission, unidentified Soviet tank commander. They're everywhere. Like locusts. Burning, destroying. We can't stop them. As Act 3 erupts, the true horror of mechanized warfare becomes apparent. Not just destruction, total annihilation. Tank crews didn't just die. They were incinerated. Trapped metal tombs becoming instant crematoriums when high explosive rounds penetrated armor. The ground became a graveyard of burning metal. Twisted tank chassis. Scattered equipment. Bodies. So many bodies. Mikhail's unit was surrounded. Cut off. Their communications fractured. Each tank became an island of survival in a sea of fire and destruction. The smoke was thick, choking. Visibility reduced to meters, not kilometers. Mikhail gripped his periscope, scanning fractured landscapes that moments before had been rolling Ukrainian farmland. Now it was a hellscape of burning tanks, broken earth, and scattered metal. His gunner, Dmitri, was pale beneath his grease-streaked face, young, too young, maybe 22, but looking like a boy who'd aged decades in hours. His hands moved with mechanical precision, loading shells, tracking targets. Target. Panzer IV. 2 o'clock. Dmitri's ice was flat, professional. Mikhail swung the turret. 3 seconds. 2, 1. The 76mm round screamed out, striking the German tank's side armor. A momentary flash, then nothing. Hit, Dmitri shouted. But they both knew one tank meant nothing against hundreds. The German offensive was a mathematical nightmare. For every Soviet tank destroyed, 2 more German machines appeared, like a hydra. Cut off one head, 2 more emerged. Hermann Hoth's 4th Panzer Army moved with surgical precision, not just an attack, a systematic dismemberment of Soviet defensive lines, each movement calculated, each thrust designed to create maximum destruction with minimum German casualties. Mikhail understood the brutal calculus of this battle. Kursk wasn't just a military engagement, it was a potential turning point of the entire Eastern Front. The T-34's diesel engine roared. Mikhail shifted, avoiding a burning wreckage. A Soviet KV-1 heavy tank, its massive hull split open like a gutted fish, crew dead, incinerated. No survivors. Radio's dead, whispered Nikolai, their radio operator. Command's gone silent. Silence meant something worse than communication failure. Silence meant total breakdown. Temperature inside the tank approached 140 degrees. Sweat poured, uniforms soaked. The metal interior became a pressure cooker of human survival and mechanical stress. Dmitri loaded another round. His movements were robotic now. Load, aim, fire, repeat. No emotion, pure survival mechanism. A distant explosion, another tank killed, another crew erased from existence. The Germans had learned from previous battles. Their tactics were ruthless. Concentrate, overwhelm, destroy. No mercy, no quarter. Mikhail remembered the Brigades, intelligence reports suggesting massive German preparations, months of gathering equipment, specialized tanks, new Panthers, upgraded Tigers, weapons designed specifically to counter Soviet armor. This wasn't just a battle, this was technological warfare at its most brutal. His T-34 represented Soviet engineering's response. Sloped armor, low profile, diesel engine. Reliable, tough, but reliability meant nothing against sheer numerical superiority. Another explosion. Closer this time. We're being surrounded, Nikolai muttered. Mikhail knew. The mathematical probability of survival was dropping with each passing minute, not just for him, for his entire unit, for potentially the entire Soviet defensive line. Kursk would defeat the war's trajectory. A massive gamble. Soviet intelligence had predicted the German attack, prepared massive defensive positions, but prediction meant nothing against actual combat. The ground trembled, not from explosions, from hundreds of tank treads moving simultaneously. Mechanized warfare reduced human struggle to mathematical equations: fuel consumption, shell trajectories, armor thickness, kill ratios. JC. Mikhail was more than an individual now. He was a variable in a massive, brutal calculation. Survival was no longer a personal choice. It was a statistical probability. The German Panthers emerged from smoke and dust, their long 75mm guns pointing with predatory precision. Mikhail felt time compress. One heartbeat. Tactical calculation. Survival instinct. His hands moved independently of conscious thought. Years of training condensed into milliseconds of reaction. Hard right, he barked. Dmitri spun the steering levers. The T-34 lurched, metal grinding against metal. A shell whistled past, missing them by meters. Close, too close. The battlefield became a hellscape of burning metal and human desperation. Soviet and German tanks traded murderous lies. No quarter, no mercy. Mikhail understood something fundamental in that moment. War reduced humanity to its most primitive mathematics. Survival, movement. Kill or be killed. Another shell struck nearby. The concussion momentarily deafened him. Nikolai was shouting something, but sound became distant, distorted. Blood trickled from Mikhail's ear. The tank's interior transformed into a nightmare of heat, smoke, and mechanical violence. Each breath became a calculated risk. Each movement could mean instant death. A German Tiger appeared through the smoke, massive, imposing, technologically superior. Mikhail knew their odds. Mathematically, 0. Spiritually, everything. Load high explosive, he commanded. Dmitri complied without hesitation. Their movements synchronized, a dance of mechanical efficiency born from months of brutal training. The Tiger's gun barrel tracked them, waiting, calculating. Mikhail understood the German gunner's psychology. Precise, methodical, waiting for the perfect shot. But Soviet tanks weren't just machines. They carried souls, memories, hopes. The next moments would demand everything. His hand touched the gunner's lever. One movement, one decision between survival and oblivion. Time seemed to stretch, slow, crystallized. The Tiger's commander looked directly at Mikhail, a moment of shared understanding. Two warriors, two machines, two ideologies colliding in a single brutal instant. No heroics, no speeches, just raw survival. The shell erupted from their 76mm gun, a desperate old statement. The Tiger's side armor rippled. A momentary flash, then silence, burning wreckage. Mechanical death. Mikhail realized they had survived not through skill but through something more profound. A collective spirit, a determination that transcended individual survival. The Battle of Kursk would be remembered not just as a military engagement, but as a testament to human resilience. Flesh against metal, ideology against machinery, survival against mathematical probability. As their damaged T-34 limped across the smoking battlefield, Mikhail understood they had witnessed something beyond historical documentation. They had survived, not just as soldiers, but as witnesses to humanity's most brutal transformation. The war continued, but in this moment, they had beaten the odds. Nikolai looked at Mikhail, a silent understanding. They had crossed a threshold. Nothing would ever be the same. The tank rolled forward, wounded, defiant, alive. The horizon burned orange and red, a testament to the day's brutal combat. Their T-34 rolled slowly, leaving a trail of diesel and hydraulic fluid across the scarred landscape. Dmitri checked their fuel gauge, low, critically low. "We won't make it back to base," he muttered. Mikhail understood. Their survival now depended on more than mechanical endurance. It required something deeper. Cunning, determination. Nikolai pulled out a crumpled map, tracing potential routes with a dirt-stained jar. Soviet positions were fluid, changing, unpredictable. 2 kilometers ahead, a small forest offered potential concealment. If they could reach it, they might repair critical damage and wait for recovery. The tank's transmission groaned. Metal fatigued, stressed beyond its design limits. "Another kilometer," Mikhail said softly. Not a command, more of a prayer. Hours passed. Twilight descended. The battlefield transformed from a thunderous arena of destruction to an eerily silent graveyard of burnt machinery and scattered equipment. Their tank became a wounded animal, limping, bleeding mechanical fluids, but still moving. Nikolai started humming an old Ukrainian folk song, a melody of resistance, of hope. The simple tune cut through the tank's metallic interior, a reminder of something human amidst mechanical warfare. As darkness fully embraced them, they spotted the forest's tree line. Dmitri's hands, burned and calloused, guided their owl approach. They stopped. Silence. No enemy movement. No sounds except cooling metal and distant artillery. Mikhail opened the hatch. Cool evening air replaced the tank's suffocating interior. He breathed deeply, looked around, assessed. They had survived, not through extraordinary skill, but through something more fundamental. Collective will, unbreakable spirit. The war would continue, more battles, more suffering, but in this moment they were alive, wounded, exhausted, changed forever, but alive. Nikolai passed around the last of their water, a small precious ritual of survival and companionship. The forest absorbed them, concealed them. Tomorrow would bring another challenge, another test of survival. But for now they had beaten the odds. Mikhail closed his eyes, listened to his companions' breathing, and remembered why they fought. Not for ideology, not for territory, but for each other. The night deepened. Stars emerged between broken tree branches, silent witnesses to their fragile existence. Distant explosions punctuated the darkness. German positions remained uncertain. Their recovery was not guaranteed. Mikhail felt Nikolai's hand on his shoulder, a gesture more profound than words. Brotherhood forged in steel and fire. Dawn approached slowly. Soft grey light penetrated the forest's dense canopy. Dmitri checked their radio, damaged but potentially functional, a slim lifeline. Their T-34 became their sanctuary and prison. Metal shell protecting them from an unforgiving landscape of war. Mikhail remembered his mother's words before he left Kiev. Survive, she had said. Not fight, not win, simply survive. As morning light strengthened, they heard distant movement. Soviet reconnaissance, German patrol, the uncertain space between hope and terror. Nikolai readied his submachine gun. Dmitri checked the tank's remaining ammunition. Mikhail remained still, listening, calculating. The forest breathed around them, wind moving through branches, leaves rustling, nature continuing its indifferent cycle while human conflict raged. Their survival hung by a thread, mechanical, biological, spiritual. Then nighed a sound, familiar, a Soviet radio signal, weak, crackling, but unmistakable. They were not alone. The forest had protected them. Their machine had carried them. Their brotherhood had sustained them. Another day of war awaited, but they had survived.